Hello, I'm Bookface, and I am turning into a jellyfish. We're back talking about obscure alien sightings that exhaust my brain, and using my nostalgic love for Ben 10 to make it a little more enjoyable. This will be our third playlist of 10 aliens, and I decided to do another one without any real theme. Rules for how I make my comparisons will be in the description as always, and full accounts of these alien sightings will be available to read on my website, also linked below. With that out of the way, it's hero time. Our first alien is Ben's coolest and most versatile electric alien, Amphibian, of the Ampiri species. While not utilized very often, Amphibian is crazy powerful, as shown in its debut episode through his DNA source RAD. He's pretty gnarly. These abilities include, and frankly are probably not limited to,
bioelectrokinesis, electricity waves, electrical telekinesis, energy absorption, energy redirection via energy absorption, force field generation, electroporation, intangibility, flight, levitation, elasticity, small space maneuvering, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced speed via flight, enhanced reflexes, enhanced durability, underwater breathing, speed swimming, electrical telepathy, electrical possession, technological manipulation, and technological destruction.
And even though like half of these abilities are never utilized by Ben, it does not change the fact that this is a really cool alien. Obviously, with such a long list of abilities, there was no way I was going to find an alien with all the same abilities, since I can only really guess an alien's abilities based on what it does in the sighting, and it would be a really weird sighting if all of those things were displayed. But I managed to find a pretty good comparison with the lakeside ghost alien, which makes a transformation I call To start, we've got a pretty similar build, just to say it's got a very ill-defined shape and limbs with questionable functionality. It was reported to have a ghostly body and was seen hovering in the air, just sort of gently going up and down, which is kind of reminiscent of the jellyfish inspiration that Amphibian has. Most notably, this creature exhibited the ability to phase through a wall, and in doing so created red and blue sparks. Since real-life creatures don't exhibit straight-up superpowers, yet these actions are the closest we get to flight, intangibility, and electricity. While it still ends up not being a perfect one-to-one, I feel like this is the best comparison of any alien I've had so far. I can't imagine it'll get much better than this. For our second alien, we look to the ink tank, with their continuity of 5 years later, including the alien Tourniquet from the species Remetapex, created by Kellengoff and of course redrawn by Kuro the artist. This alien can heal others and itself quickly and has a highly elastic body. Also, little note that I love is the wiki compares its body to toilet paper. I don't know why, it's really funny to me. It also really indicates that this thing is not durable. This thing is a healer 100%. And that variety is a nice change from the typical combat-oriented aliens that we see throughout the rest of Ben 10 stuff. For our comparison, we're actually revisiting an alien I talked about before starting this series, this being the Larson alien. This redrawn thing creates the transformation I call Initially, I compared this alien to Ben Mummy or Snarrow because it was described as looking like a mummy. And I'm like, I'll never find anything like that again. I have indeed found many mummy aliens. Upon revisiting this specific one though, I realized there's nothing to suggest that this alien has the stretchy bandage powers that would be needed for that comparison. However, in the sighting, these things supposedly performed some crazy brain surgery, which is to say they fully removed a brain and put it back in and left no visible scars. So that definitely counts as some crazy healing. Also, because I want to justify the changes from the original, and because I like to overthink these things, I had a thought that the light on his forehead could be like one of those UV therapy things, and instead of wrapping injuries in bandages and heal them, since our sighting indicates that this thing has metallic arms, I imagine those would be like super precise surgical blades, and I imagine it cutting the body in specific ways to kind of work like those seamless carpentry videos, so that there's no visible scarring. Of course, I'm pulling this explanation out of my not demonetization worthy lower orifice, so don't worry if it doesn't make any sense. Third is an alien that me and countless other Ben 10 fans wanted to see for years, but unfortunately never saw.
Are you sure about that?
Which is the transformation of the Chimera sui generis species called Sucker Punch by the ink tank, but most recognized by Vilgax. Also, no, I'm not acknowledging Gax. If I talk about the reboot aliens, it's only because I explicitly have to. Honestly, the only ones I really feel like bringing up are the ones that only exist in the reboot continuity. Now, despite how hyped up this transformation is, the Chimera are actually a pretty simple species. They're big bipedal squids, and that's about it, actually. All the other things like flight, shield generation, laser vision are supposed to be specific to Vilgax and no one else. Now, with this in mind, this did actually make the comparison a little easier to find, with the intensely named
Indescribable Octoman,
which creates the transformation I call
Cthulhuland.
Now, what's notable about this transformation in comparison to canon is its overall size. In canon, Vilgax is roughly 15 feet tall, with this of course being subject to change by who's drawing and how much people care about staying on model. In our sighting of the Octoman, however, it's described as 3 to 4 times the size of a person. So I looked up the average global height of a person, which was surprisingly hard to find, and came to the answer of 5 foot 7.5 inches, which would mean this creature's size ranges from 16 foot 8 3/4 inches or 23 feet tall. Pretty close, but still notably taller. And another thing to be a little sciencey with it. It's notable that octopi are incredibly strong in comparison to their size and are also incredibly smart. So this would be one tough transformation to deal with. Also, a little side note, because I can't be stopped, I'm going to say this transformation works really well underwater and can unfurl its tentacle limbs. Yes, yeah, that reboot power does kind of make sense. Also, I'm going to say he spits ink because I just think it's funny. Next, we have a classic alien that I frankly just wanted to get out of the way early because I know finding an even half decent comparison for this thing would be a nightmare. And that alien is the galvanic mechamorph transformation called Upgrade. Though simple in design, this alien is complicated in every other way, from being an artificially created species to technically being one giant mass of nanites, all the way to its unique powers of possessing and upgrading technology, and sometimes non-technological stuff. Also, he shoots lasers from his eye. So going into that, I'll just straight up say my comparison here is pretty weak, but it ended up being the Childers shapeless alien, making the transformation I call
Magnusplooge.
A big part of the comparison is due to the purple coloration, which is me once again begrudgingly acknowledging the reboot, and also the weird amorphous shape described. So how do I explain the other abilities central to what Upgrade even is? Well, technically, the sighting includes a point of unexplained magnetism. My idea is that maybe it was the aliens that were magnetic, not their big UFO that was taking off. And if that's the case, they could use that magnetism along with the flexible body to cover and manipulate machines.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit.
It is a super weak comparison, but as a funny addition, which is a big part of why I kept this weak comparison, this thing is also described as 3 times the size of a person, meaning that our mechamorph is a whopping 16 feet tall, so also taller than base Vilgax. This thing went off the rails. Lastly for this video, we have an alien known solely from the concept art made by Tom Perkins, the transformation Soul Catcher of the species Krampusarian. Of course, it goes without saying, this alien's based on Krampus, but interestingly its powers, aside from, general strength and agility, is absorbing memory and life force to become stronger, which is pretty unique and kind of terrifying. I managed to find a good comparison with the Elyonke Eldritch aliens, creating the transformation I call These aliens are described as semi-humanoid with a triangular head and pointy ears, which I kind of shifted to look a bit like a goat head. Along with these things being really fast and having some super sharp claws, those who sighted the aliens exhibited some odd behavior, such as basic memory loss, as is the case with most alien sightings, and also one kid just trying to bash himself in the head till he passed out because he was so scared of these things. I am not judging that at all, but I am saying, wow, that's a lot. Now, it could just be that these things are that scary, but it's also possible these things could have had some sort of psychological effect on those around them. Also, another connection that is very weird is that one of these creatures in the sighting was holding a glowing multicolored egg, which the witnesses interpreted to be some kind of anglerfish type lure, and Soulcatcher has these weird bulbous glowy things on its shoulders. It's a weird little random detail, but it kind of connects. And as a fun little coincidence, Soulcatcher resembles a goat, and our real life counterpart is somewhat related to the chupacabra, which eats goats, so
Symmetry, my friend!
And there are the first 5 aliens of our third Ben 10 playlist. Check out my website to read full details on the sightings, and subscribe to my channel to see the other half of this playlist in, I don't know, like a month? I don't have a strict schedule. Also subscribe and join my Patreon. I didn't completely forget about that. And with that, I'll see you next time. Bye!